Great. Hello. I see people are joining us today to learn about the Harris Manufacturing Processes Laboratory. Welcome to our webinar. I'm Maggie Johnson. I'm one of the undergraduate academic advisors in the Grado Department of Industrial and Systems Engineering. We have another advisor in the department too. Her name is Paula. So if you hear anything today, and I'll introduce my co-host in a second, if you hear anything today that you want to learn more about, please feel free to get in touch with us later. We're happy to chat with you and tell you more about our program. Today, we're going to give you a tour of one of our labs that all of the undergraduate students get to experience while they're here. And luckily, we have the expert, Mr. Scott Lancaster, here. So he can introduce himself. And then what we're going to do after that is show you the lab tour video. The video is about 7 minutes long, 7.5 minutes. So once the video is over, you can type your questions into the Q&A chat and we'll happily answer them and tell you anything you'd like to know about the lab. So Scott, would you like to take it away?
Thank you, Maggie. I don't know about an expert, but I'm here in the lab. So welcome everyone that's out there that's watching this presentation. As Maggie said, I'm Scott Lancaster. I'm the manager here in the lab, and there's several more instructors, 5 more to be exact. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, welcome to the Harris Manufacturing Processes Lab. This is where we instruct the IC 2214 Manufacturing Processes Lab. We have 450 students per week that come through the lab that we instruct, and there's 13 different labs that we do. We do 30 students at a time, 3 times a day, so 90 students per day. In our lab, material science, mechanical engineering, and also industrial and systems engineering take this lab. Those 3 majors take this lab. We're not teaching them to be machinists or welders. We're teaching them the processes of each lab and what each process is. Some students who later on, their senior year, they use this as a prerequisite for the WARE lab as they do their senior design as competitive teams there. And you have to make a B+ in this lab to be able to go up to the WARE lab and use their machine shop. So we're going to take a little tour and I'm going to show you the different labs in the lab itself. So this is the first lab that I'm going to show you. It's the form and powder metallurgy lab. On one end we have a die for forming the material. The students learn the limit draw ratio and when the material will form or when it will tear. The other side of is the die that we use to compact powder, which is powder metallurgy, and the students make a coin that they will receive from the year that they participated in the lab. Second lab is the turning lab. In this lab we do 8 different experiments changing feeds and speeds on the machine and looking at different finishes, the temperature that it takes to turn the material and remove the material. And also we show them as we put like a coolant on it. We put the coolant on and it shows them how much it drops the temperature and how much it will save the tool that we're using. The next lab is the EDM lab. It's an electric discharge machine. So we're very fortunate to have a wire EDM machine here in the ISE department. We run this lab with the students and we do 5 experiments, changing different offsets on the machine, using different voltages in the machine. And the students get to see it actually cut the 5 different experiments and we check the surface roughness. So the EDM machine is used not only in the lab, but we also use it as research for our faculty members. This is the welding lab. This is where the students learn to do shielded metal arc welding or stick welding. Some people may know it as stick welding, or arc welding, just plain arc welding. We have 6 students come in to perform the labs, but in this lab they learn to do a double fillet weld. They also learn to do tack welds. And they get to practice just beads. Most students have never welded before, and when they come in, they're kind of scared, but we get them going, and they actually do pretty well and lay a pretty good bead, pretty good weld by the end of the lab. This is the robot welding lab. The students learn to program this machine and use the robot to perform the welds. It's very consistent weld each time. We explain the difference in the welding 1, the welding 2. that I showed you just a minute ago was welding 1, where they actually do the manual welding. Here you got a robot to do it. We explain the differences. In the 2, this is gas metal arc welding. So you use gas in this lab instead of the shielded metal arc welding. The flux on the rod that you use, we've got gas bottles that we use to shield the weld from oxygen and any other contaminants. This is pulley casting. In here, the students learn to build a sand casting with their hands, and then we pour the aluminum for the students in this lab. Again, we have 6 students back here making their patterns or their molds, and we pour the material for them. They make the pulley here each week. This is the actual pulley that they're pouring and casting in this lab. The next week, they'll go into pulley machine, and they'll actually machine a pulley out of this material that they've made the week before in pulley casting. This is mounting plate machine lab. This is the iron worker that the students get to use to punch the holes in the plate as they make the plate. And these holes are used for mounting holes on the rest of the machines during this lab. Then they come over and use the vertical milling machines to machine this slot here, the transverse slot. Then they come over to the horizontal mills where they machine the long skinny slot. They do this, again, it's 6 students at a time, 1 instructor. So this is the pulley that they turn. They actually face it, turn it to the diameter, cut the V-groove in it, turn it around and face and turn the boss here. They drill the hole, they broach the keyway, and then drill and tap a hole in this lab. This is one of the favorite labs that the students do, and it is the longest lab that we have in here, which is about 2.5-hour lab. This is our inspection lab. This is 2 labs. You do the pulley inspection and the mounting plate inspection. So the last 2 labs that you saw, those parts that we built there, they come in here and the students inspect them and decide if they accept them or reject them. It's not whether they did the part really well or not. We grade them on that for that particular lab. This is just to get them used to measuring. We get to use a CMM machine in here. We also use the optical comparator, hardness tester. They have all the tools that they use, from calipers, mics, depth gauges, height gauges. They use all those in this lab for 2 different labs. So this lab is switch box assembly. What they have is several different components that they put into a switch box, an actual switch box that'll turn off and on as they build it. It's a 5-station assembly line, and each student adds a component. We change it up and change the jobs around to make the lab run smoothly or have the assembly line run smoothly. This is a lab report lab. Also, there's a lab report for the turning lab and the EDM lab that I showed you earlier. So this is our NC lab, our numerical control lab. This is where we do NC1 and NC2. NC1, the students actually program G codes, and they make this part here the forward fixed plate. In NC2, the students use a software to design their part, and they build this plate, which is the aft fixed plate. And what we do later on in the process, the mounting plate, these are welded on the mounting plate. So all these labs run together. They actually run in sequence, and they actually end up with a part that the students make.
That's exciting. So Scott and I are here to answer any questions you all have, and so you can use the Q&A box for that. And while we wait, maybe we could tell them a little bit about the lab, that how it fits into the curriculum for ISE. So you all probably heard at the beginning of the video, Scott mentioned that ISE students, so industrial and systems engineering, material science students, and mechanical engineering students are all required to take this lab. So from the students I talk with, and I'm sure Scott too, they tell me it's their favorite class. Their whole 4 years, this is their favorite class. No pressure, Scott.
we hear that a lot, and it's awesome for us to hear because we're getting to share with the students things that we've learned in the industry for the past 20 years, our 20 years experience in the industry. So it's very rewarding for us to show the students.
So a lot of students will take it in their sophomore years, some maybe in their junior years. There are also ways to, some students will take this lab because it prepares them to work in what's called the WARE lab later on, which is a host lab for design teams. So that's a great opportunity as well. There's also an accompanying lecture course. So if students really enjoy what they get to do hands-on in the lab, they can take the lecture as well and earn credit for that class. So that's a great way to get involved if manufacturing is really what the interests are. Scott, do you want to talk about your team who works in the lab with you?
Yeah, we can. So it's a wide variety of gentlemen who work down here. We've hired one recently. There's 5 total besides me. And I do fill in and instruct the labs on people's days off, or if you need to miss work for some reason, I fill in, but I also do the supervising side of it as well. But I've got guys in here that's worked at Virginia Tech for 35 years, which is a lot of experience, a lot of help for us, a lot of knowledge for us to lean on if we need to. But that's Randy. And then we've got the newest guy is Chris. So he's only been with us right at a year. I mean, this week has been a year for him being with us in the IC department. So that's Randy and Chris. Then we have Kelly and Travis. They've been here. Well, Kelly's been here the most amount, probably 15 years. Travis has been here about 3 years. And then you have Joe. Joe is like myself. We both owned our own business before we came here. So that's great experience for us to have to share with you guys as well. But in a nutshell, that's my team that we have here in the lab that allows us to share with you guys.
I know students really enjoy working with your team, and I like to be your colleagues too. We got to do a staff retreat where we went into the Harris Manufacturing Processes Lab. So I personally got to weld one day. That was really cool to learn about that lab and what the students get to do. And then there's also a faculty member who helps teach the course as well that students go through. But I'm not sure if they're in the lab on a regular basis for that or just there as support. But
they're here for support. Most time you will not see those professors, but I always tell the students, they can teach the theory. Mm-hmm. No doubt the professors can teach the theory of what we're doing, but the practical side of it, we can do that and do it well. So.
And then I think your lab has graduate students who work in it as well. Is that right?
Yes. Again, I've got about 5 guys, instructors, but then I've also got about 5 GTAs. So it's quite a bit of supervision to go over. So, but it's fun. Well, I enjoy all of my graduate teaching assistants and the guys I work with, and as well as you. I mean, Maggie, we work great together. So you've done a great job putting all this together.
Well, thanks. Students have been taking this course for decades, right?
Right.
And you all have gotten some cool new machines over time.
Right. And a little bit about me, I guess. I've been here 5 years. I don't know if I said that yet or not. I've been here 5 years. In August will be 5 years. And we've gotten some new machines and machining equipment. But the coolest thing about this lab is you get to use it. The students get to use the machines hands-on. This is a hands-on lab. You're not sitting here watching us make something. You guys are making it. And that's why I think all the students tell you, Maggie, that they really like this lab. We're very busy in this lab. We have 15 sections per week. That's 3 sections per day, 5 days a week. So like I said, we're very busy, and there's 30 students in each section. So 450 students per week is quite a few students that we see.
Yeah, that is true. And you all adapted amazingly to the pandemic as well. So hopefully we're coming out of that. So future students will be back in person. But do you want to talk a little bit about how you adjusted this year?
So what Maggie is talking about, we had to adjust like everyone else. I'm sure you had to do it in your schools that you're currently attending, but we had to make this lab be able to operate with social distancing and all that, sanitizing. I met with one of our professors every day during the summer, and we set this lab up last summer. And we normally do 13 labs per semester with each student, but this in-person labs. Now we're only doing 5 in-person labs, and the rest are online. It's not. We hear it all the time from the students that they don't like the online stuff, and we understand. It would be tough for me, I think, to learn online. I mean, just being honest, it would be tough for me to learn online. I'd rather do the hands-on thing, and I'm sure most of our students are the same. What do you think about that, Maggie? I mean,
I think considering that the purpose of this lab is to be hands-on and in the space, it's been as good as it could be. In a pandemic none of us knew was coming or could have ever prepared for,
right.
that you all have been able to offer, the best of what could be. So I think
Right.
it's great. I'm hopeful that, as things start to improve, our students will be back to those 13 in-person labs like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I've seen the students be emotional that we've been here for them to be able to get out of their apartments or out of their
yeah,
dorms to come in and do the hands-on labs. And they're like, thank you for doing it. So again, that's rewarding for us.
Yeah, exactly. It's a nice way for them to get away from the computer for a little while.
Right.
Yeah.
Get out but we're doing it safely and doing it by our protocols that EHS has, environmental health and safety, has planned for us. So we're doing well. But like you said, Maggie, hopefully we're over the hump and on our way back to normal.
Mhm. Yeah. And I forgot to mention at the beginning, but Scott is alone in his office and I'm alone working from home. So we're safely socially distanced, which is why we're not wearing our masks right now. But we have them handy for when we go places.
Yeah, we have them, but just because no one else is in here, I don't, like she said, I don't have to wear mine. She don't have to wear hers right now.
Yeah.
And as you know, in the video, you could tell I was muffled from the mask, so it's pretty tough.
Yeah, but I think that video is a nice way to kind of see what the lab has to offer. I think we've talked a lot about the lab, which is great. It has a wonderful history in our department. I think it will continue to be one of the favorite classes, probably the favorite class of our students. And, once the pandemic is hopefully, allowing us to be back in person, like we said, we'll be face to face with each other again soon. So,
right. Yeah, I agree.
I can share with you all, just so you get a visual, a slide that has our contact information on it. So that can be a part of the recording as well. So if your attendees do have a question later on or would like to learn more, this is how you could get in touch with us. We have quite a few different social media channels. And then my email is here along with Paula's, who's the other advisor. And then if any students out there would like to talk to current ISE students, we can connect you with some of the ISE ambassadors. So if you want to screenshot this or take a picture with your phone, this is a great way to get in touch with us later on too. Okay, well, Scott, any final thoughts do we have for our attendees today?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Hopefully, maybe we'll see you soon in the Harris Manufacturing Processes Lab.
Yes, I agree. I hope we see you all soon. If you all want to stay in touch, we'd welcome that. Hopefully you all choose Virginia Tech in the future. You choose the College of Engineering and the Industrial and Systems Engineering Department. We'd love to have you. So Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Maggie.
Take care.
See you.